Well, kia ora, and welcome to a mini hoon on the Kaka. I'm Bernard Hickey, and with us on the show, a regular attendee and friend of the show, Jared Kerr from Kiwi Bank. Jared, great to see you today.
Kia ora.
Thank you for coming on a busy day.
Pleasure.
The Reserve Bank cut the official cash rate by 50 basis points. The Policy Committee were unanimous, and the Reserve Bank has said that it may do more in the future. What did you think of today's decision?
Look, it was the right decision. We've been banging the table for quite some time that they need to get the cash rate down to 2.5. The reason we've been calling for 2.5 is simply because it's below neutral and it gets you into a stimulatory setting. So we've assessed the economy for the last 2 years and said we need a stimulatory setting. Unfortunately, it's taken a long time to get here. It would have been nice if it had been delivered 6 months ago, so it would have fed through by now. But that's water under the bridge. They've delivered the 250, and that'll take the next 6 months to fully feed through. The good news is that they're also open and they seem quite willing to deliver another 25 basis point move to 2.25 in November. So, that's good news. It's taking interest rates to a level that's going to get traction in the economy. 3% was not that level. 2.25 is.
How much further down could we go? Or
Oh,
should we go?
how long's a piece of string, really? Like, if we get to 2.25 and it starts to bite and it starts to get a bit of traction, then I'm hoping that's it. Like, I don't want to call for further rate cuts, right? I want the economy to be bouncing back, and that's what we're certainly hoping for. But if we wake up in February and that summer period has not been good, has been a continuation of what we've seen over the last couple of years, then they have to do more. How much more? Well, you just keep cutting until you get the desired reaction. So it could be two, it could be 1.5, could be one. I mean, they've been down to 0.25% during COVID, which was probably the most extreme you'll ever see. But the lower bound is very low.
Um, why hasn't the economy and the housing market in particular gotten ahead of steam, uh, given that we've seen the official cash rate cut from 5.5% to today 2.5% in just over a year? Normally that's enough to do the trick. What's going on?
Well, if they'd cut it from 5.5 to 3% in one motion, then yeah, I'd agree with you because it would have fed through a lot faster, and it would have fed through by now. But they didn't. They mucked around. They started last year saying no cuts. Actually, there's a greater risk of a hike in May last year was their commentary, to then flip-flop and call for a cut in August, deliver some cuts, and then in May again this year, they turned around and said, oh, well, we don't really have a bias, which was a ridiculous thing to say, and then pause in July, which was also the wrong decision, and then start cutting in August again. So we've had this kind of flip-flopping, poor messaging, very poor leadership from the Reserve Bank. There's no wonder, I should say, that businesses are a little confused, a little disappointed, and don't really take them at their word anymore. But now, I think now we've seen a decent cut. We've got a new governor starting, thank God. She joins on the 1st of December. I don't think Anna's the sort of person who's going to muck around, given her credentials and given what she believes she needs to do. So we're going to be under better leadership from now on, and I think we will get traction with interest rates firmly below what we consider neutral, which is ineffective.
We've seen the housing market, go down and stay down for 2, 3 years now. In fact, in the living memories of most New Zealanders, we've never seen a housing market stuck down, 20%, some places 30% below its peaks, and be sort of stalled. Can our economy grow when house prices aren't rising?
Well, just to remind everyone on the call, we'd never seen a housing market rise 45% in 18 months either. So we came out of COVID guns blazing because the Reserve Bank had put interest rates near zero, and away we went, right? Like that was one hell of a an increase in asset prices in a very short space of time. So yes, we've corrected 20 basis points, 20%, sorry, and we've gone nowhere for 2 years. That nowhere for 2 years should have been enough for the Reserve Bank to kick in and go, oh, we might need to do more. Um, Belatedly, they've come in and they've done more. So I do think the housing market will pick up into next year. I don't think we're going to see the same sort of gains that we saw in 2021, which were off the charts. I do think it'll be a 2-3% gain next year, maybe 5 to 7 going into 2027. But I think you know the market will turn around because one of the main things that investors tell me is that they want to rebuild a bit of equity in their homes, in their portfolios before they commit. And others tell me they want to see mortgage rates closer to rental yields, and we're getting that now. So there's going to be a point, and I think it's soon, where investors just go, okay, I'm back in, and when they start coming back in, we'll see that market recover. And you know what? Absolutely. The housing market has a massive impact on this economy, as it does in Australia, Canada, and a number of countries around the world. So it's very hard for the economy to do well when house prices have fallen and gone sideways, and people aren't feeling the wealth effects of a rising house price.
Yeah, one of the things that's different this time is though is that we have the debt to income multiple controls, which
Yeah.
effectively are like a guardrail or holding back, particularly rental property investors,
Mm.
from diving in as interest rates fall. Is that one of the factors, holding back the market and holding back the response?
I think at the edges, like slightly, I've heard that there are a few who've kind of bumped into those constraints, but it's a very small number. If you look across the banks lending, we've got a growth limit, if you like, of 20%. We're kind of around that 7-8% growth in that sort of high DTI space. So there is actually quite a bit of headroom before we bump into it. That's across the whole thing. Sure, there are some people who are bumping up against it, but many people aren't. So that's going to be a constraint for the next housing boom, if you like. We're not there yet. That constraint is not really crimping the market yet. It might be an excuse for a few investors here and there, but not across the board yet.
So, just having a look at those people who are thinking about their mortgage rates, we've seen in the last week or so, a round of cuts, particularly to one particular length of rate, the 1 year rate down to
Mm,
4.49% generally.
mm.
Not necessarily asking what you or Kiwibank's going to do, but is the 50 basis points and the comments in today's Reserve Bank statement, do you think that's all priced in, if you like, to the
Nope.
retail mortgage rates? Do you think there's more to come?
Definitely more to come. Definitely more to
Mm.
come. So coming into this, the market was split. The economists were split. So the Reuters poll that I saw had 11 of 26 economists. I don't even know if there are 26 economists covering this country, but anyway, 11 of the 26 covering this country were calling for 50. The others were calling for 25. So that's a pretty split decision. The market was pretty much reflecting that. We didn't have the full 50 priced in, which is why you've seen wholesale rates fall on the back of the 50 basis point move. The market's gone from pricing in a pretty good chance of a 225 to now flirting with the idea of a 2% cash rate. So that short end of the curve has moved lower. As you say, you've already seen some of that passed on to the 1 year. There's more to come because this time last week, no one was convinced that they were doing 50 basis points to the point that you would pass it on completely to mortgage rates last week. So there will be more pass through. And given the fact that the market is starting to sort of flirt with the idea of a 2% cash rate, that'll just put a little bit more downward pressure on all interest rates, which I think is needed. And I think the Reserve Bank would have liked to see uh, what we got today in financial markets. They'll be looking at that reaction going, that's what we wanted.
How much did the wholesale rates fall, and what happened to the New Zealand dollar?
So the Kiwi dropped about 0.5% against the big
Mm,
green dollar, and it's down a little more against the Aussie. The Kiwi Aussie's been under a bit more of a downward trajectory given the RBA are a
paused.
better central bank. Sorry, did I say that out loud? No, because the RBA are not cutting as much. They didn't drive their economy into recession. And Kiwi rates, mate, we're off sort of 10, 11 in that 1 year, sort of 6, 7 basis points in that 2 year. So it might not say a lot, but they've fallen a lot already
Mm.
in anticipation of this, and they've just fallen further. So like I said, the Reserve Bank will look at that and they'll go wholesale rates lower, mortgage rates, business rates, all rates really lower, and the Kiwi lower. Now that helps everyone. It really does, unless you're an importer, but it helps broadly the economy. And even those Australians who will look across here and go, I want to travel to New Zealand, it's just gotten 10% cheaper for them to come here.
We'll turn on the snowmaking machines. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Hey, Jared, thank you so much for coming on to a mini hoon on the Kaka. Jared Kerr there from